Welcome back. So a couple weeks ago, we got to talk to my buddy Giz about how he got into coaching and managing eSports teams. Also about his experience playing in both Latin America and North American communities. So I hope you enjoy. It sounds like you've coached a couple different, right? Good coach, Team Frozen, right? You were doing Rocket League. No?
No, that wasn't coaching. That was actually managing. So I was more like building their roster up because I had no experience with Rocket League. I like the game, but like I'm average at best on like a good day. So my job was more about expanding the roster, finding the tournaments, managing team entries, and then talking to other like team managers to set up scrims so they could practice. And just try to push the team. It's almost like you're marketing your team, and if nobody knows it, you kind of have to try and use as many big words you can to slowly start pumping them in. So I would start getting, like I would start looking at big teams that were classifying for RLCS were destroying in scrims, and I was like, okay, let's ask them for a scrim, and I need you guys to smash them as well. So then the other teams will look at you and they'll be like, okay, like they smashed, the first people and slowly build up. I don't know if you've ever played what's it called? Punch Out, Mike Tyson's Punch Out. But you know how you go from like the weakest fighter all the way up to Mike Tyson? But it's kind of the same way. Like you have to slowly start building a name and be like, okay,
building
like it's like let's start building the team with let's beat the team that plays with their monitors off first, and then let's slowly start climbing from there.
Okay, so you said you went from Overwatch, playing professional, and you pivoted to coaching. Did you coach a team that you were on, or did you kind of like back away, somebody reach out to you? How did that come about?
So that's a good question actually. I originally started as a player coach for a Latin American team. That was a team that I not only coached, so after games I would sit down and review our videos with them, go through what was wrong, go through my errors, obviously, as well as theirs. Just because I'm coaching doesn't mean I'm gonna act like I'm playing perfect and everybody's playing off. I play off sometimes, and I had greats where I was like doing great. I had other games where we literally lost and it was only my fault, and I would admit it. I think having that open mentality really separates, the ability to growth versus your ability to just be in denial and stay within the same skill range. But yeah, I started coaching in Latin America, and then I moved to a North American team that was playing Overwatch Open Division. So before the Overwatch League happened, the Open Division was a tournament where any team could basically try to sign up, and they had different divisions. So if you were like low ranked, you could just join for fun. Anything that was over the rank of Masters and above would be able to qualify for Overwatch League if they got far in enough. I joined with a Masters team, and surely enough, people whose average rank is about 3.6, we did our best, but with teams that, their average rank was like 4.4K, that 800 rank point difference is a huge gap. And it was very, very visible when we were getting our shit rocked. But yeah, that was probably the peak and then the end of the coaching career.
Okay, so you did that. You did it for a bit. You guys kind of got rocked. You're kind of like, I'm gonna step out of this eSports thing, and that portion of my young early life ended for the time. Do you think you'll ever get back into like even just coaching?
No. As much as I loved it, and it was hype, right? Like we would play, if we ever had to play at a local venue, for example, we had one. I remember there was a tournament here in Puerto Rico when the game was peaking, and it was a tournament hosted by Claro Puerto Rico, which is like this phone company, $5,000, and then they did like for each console and PC. So every team had a chance at $5,000. And there is something about the adrenaline of like you sitting there. We were in a small venue, but we had like 200 and something people watching. And there is something beyond cool about sitting there. You hit like a game wave or or something like that, and then just hear like the roar of nerds who just came out of their house to watch you play, right? And it is great. Like it was a high. Like I want to say I'm an ego-based player, right? Like I would do plays that weren't always optimal, but were like flashy, because I love having people talk about it later, right? And that's my fault. So my ego is ginormous. It comes. It is bigger than me. It is twice as tall as me. If my ego were a person, it would be the size of Shaquille O'Neal. And at that time, that was just a high that I had never felt. But even with those highs, the lows that came with it are enough to outweigh it and scare me. Back then, like I mentioned, console esports is a dead fish in the water unless you're like in a fighting game or a controller-based game. So stuff like Multiversus, Smash, Pokemon, right? Those are games that are played strictly on console. So their esports scenes mostly flourish on console. Then you go to like Overwatch, Fortnite. Let's see what else is like a cross-platform, because Valorant is PC only. I don't know. I know there was like a Rainbow Six Siege, right? That's another one. And those games, while the PC scene thrives and kind of spearheads the whole community, the console, the growth or potential for growth in console is not as big. Well, it's not even not as big. You can't be a full-time esports player on console if your scene isn't like primarily established there. So there was no, there was no need to grind it because there was no future there. And then, I was slaving away. I was losing sight of like my studies. That was probably the worst semester I've ever had. I had like a 2.1 GPA when I finished that semester, which was awful. And my mind, and I've always been a student that holds himself high to like high standards, which sucks. That 2.1, I never got to bounce back. I never got to repeat the classes. What's it called? That's the biggest regret I probably have, because I graduated with like a 3.1 GPA. I could have probably been like a 3.4. I could have been an egghead. I decided not to.
I never.
And that was something that always
for a bookworm. Like
so
studying.
I just like. I know it sounds crazy because everybody looks at me and they're like, "Damn, this guy's stupid," and I just think I think it's more of like weaponized incompetence rather than actual stupidity, right? I just like acting, because if you act dumb, nobody's gonna come, ask you for anything. So I just get to like live life, right? Nobody talks to me about like OBS or overlays. They go to my girlfriend because she's smart, right? And obviously it's also her job. So even if I did want to talk about it, she's probably the best person to go to. Let me try and summarize it just because I feel like I went way off your answer. My bad. Point is, the highs are great. It's a great rush. Again, venues full of people yelling your gamer tag, not even your name, right? And I'm afraid to share my gamer tag just because it was so bad. And that's a relic of the past. No. So I had one when I used to play on Xbox way back before. Like, this isn't even competing. This was just like casual gaming. Mine was called G-Man for Gabe, right? 7-Eleven, because I thought those were like the two lucky numbers, and then LM, and the LM were in capital because it stood for Ladies Man. And after I sold my Xbox, I was like, may God never give anybody that same name, because I think the Xbox randomized names are bangers, right? Like my original one before that was like Chewable Birch. I should have stayed as Chewable Birch, right? Like that's a sick name. That's an actual.
Bad.
I know, right? That's like an actual dope name. It's not like there's companies that do it right and companies that don't do it right. Like Blizzard, everything is like pants at the end, right? And then like a randomized word. So it's like Lucky Pants, Cranky Pants, Funny Pants, and that's literally how they do it. And then, tag at the end, so there could be multiple Cranky Pants, multiple Funny Pants. But yeah, I'm straying. Let me answer more concisely so you can just like edit out everything we've said. Yeah, the highs are really good. The lows are probably harder. I think mental health in esports is a topic that isn't discussed as much. And like I said, in a scene that was dead in the water, had no flourishment, there is no acknowledgement of mental health. I fell in a very deep point. Like I said, grades were flopping. My social life was probably at was non-existent. because I was slaving 14 hours daily, like I said. And it got to a point where it almost, like it was a cycle, right? Like I was broken, and it's like, damn, I'm sad because I'm playing too much games, but I don't know what else to do. So let me play games to try to distract myself from being sad. And it became a loop where my depression kind of uh, just pushed me to further myself in gaming. And then once I came out of that depression, I lost all of the drive I had. I no longer wanted to slave for a game like that. I never wanted to find myself in that position again. I wanted out completely. So I uninstalled that game and any other game I was trying to compete. I went away. I did not play a single game for, I want to say, almost half a year. Uh, and then I came back and started playing casually, but monitoring myself. Like if I saw myself spending too much time, I'd be like, yo, this is not it. There were other teams that would reach out to me and be like, hey, like, are you looking to play? Are you looking to play? Are you looking to come back? Like, we need a main tank, which was the position I played. And I was like, man, not even for $1 million. Like, it is wild. Because if it weren't for the fact that if it weren't for the fact that I quit that game, I would have never been able to jump out of that like hyper fixation hole. But now I'm, decent job. It's like that meme. Have you seen that meme where it's like, oh my god, I quit Valorant and now I'm driving a Ferrari, I have a girlfriend, 100K salary, right? But it's like it's kind of like the meme. It's like, damn, I quit Overwatch, stable job, had a car, moved to New York, so.
Hey, thanks for making it through the video. If you enjoyed that, check out part 1 right here. Stay tuned for part 3, and come join me over on Twitch for more fun, games, and future interviews. That was all. That's it. Bye.